Halfway through the year, we are going to talk about the good, the bad, and the soft and quiet of the 2023. Blake, I'll start with you.
Uh,
What movie do you want to talk about for whatever reason that
for
we covered? Oh, and just
whatever.
I'll throw it out there for anyone who's never heard one of these shows. We're only going to talk about movies that we reviewed on this show from January up until this episode of this year.
Right.
But it's only going to be movies that came out this year because we did cover quite a few movies from. We went back as far as the 70s and some of our movies.
Yeah, I was actually kind of laughing to myself about it. I was like, oh, that list is way shorter than I thought it was going to be. And it's a lot more the special editions than it usually is because yeah, we've been doing a lot of old grimy stuff, which
Yeah,
I love.
yeah. You got to count Dr. Black and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, yeah. I
That's
was like, hey, we got to talk about that.
yeah,
Oh
the
yeah.
list.
Well, okay. Oh boy, in the sake of talking, okay. So I want to talk about Ennis Main. Ennis Main.
No way, man. That is the first one on my list. But what do you have to say about it?
Well, here's my thing with that movie. I don't even remember what I said if you should watch it or not. But I've had like thoughts about it, and
Oh my God, I think you're gonna. I can't believe I'm not believing this. It's like you read my notes, but go ahead.
oh no, I don't know. I still don't even know what to say about it. I think that's
Okay,
kind of what I
okay.
mean. Is
Okay.
while that movie was strange, and like I don't recall really enjoying it. I remember us being kind of like, what the hell even was this?
All right.
I think there's kind of an allure to it. And I think there's something to that movie that I think I'm gonna have to watch it again, to be honest with you. I think, yeah.
Man, I can't believe you're saying that because so Ennis Main is the top of my list. There's something else that kind of took its place that I'll go back to, but since you
Okay.
brought up Ennis Main, I'm going to stick with Ennis Main.
Okay.
It is the first movie that I thought of that we covered from the first half of the year. I have not rewatched it.
Okay.
I haven't talked to anybody about it. I haven't heard anybody talk about it. I rewatched the trailer one
I did
time.
too.
And I will say this when you and I talk, and people should go back and listen to it to
Yeah.
hear what we had to say about it because we were hard on this movie.
Yeah, I remember being hard on it. Yeah.
We were very hard on it, and both of us said to avoid this movie.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, both of us were not very pleased with this movie at all. Since then, Allure is, I guess, the perfect way to describe it because I haven't seen it, I haven't talked about it, but I have nothing different to say about it. It's slow paced. I don't quite understand it. We did in that episode where we talked it down. We talked about how amazing the performance was because it's basically
Yeah.
just one person.
Yep.
I still think that about it. It was creepy. The trailer is creepy. Actually, if you just watch the trailer, you'll think like, "Holy shit! I really got to see
I
this." Is
need to see
probably
this
gonna be.
movie.
This is like probably the scariest thing I'm going to see this year.
Uh,
For whatever reason, when I look back on that movie, and I don't really remember it all that well, but I think people should watch it. I don't know why I've changed on it. Like, I think it's one of those movies that they age very well. Like they talk about movies that they last or they're still 20 years later they're still good.
yeah.
And then some movies just don't age really well.
Right.
Um, this is one of those very rare movies where you watch it and you're like, oh fuck that. And then a few months down the road, you're like, man, I gotta get someone to see that movie. I think I gotta rewatch that movie, but I don't know what it is about Ennis Main. Because I have nothing different to say about it all because I haven't watched it. There's nothing new I can say. I have no new
Right.
takes on it. But for whatever reason, over the course of I'm thinking like I was too hard on it the first time. I maybe because I think I watched it the night before we did the show. Maybe I was
Yeah.
tired. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I don't think I gave it a fair shake the first time around.
I think you're right. I think we were assholes, maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
It's folk horror. Like it's
We
kind of
should
our
love it. We
thing.
should have loved it. Yeah.
And we both on that show we both complimented the acting of it and the imagery, really cool imagery in it. Like I don't know what it is about it. The funny
So,
thing is I don't want to go back and watch it, but I think that I
well,
should.
right. Exactly. That's exactly the way I feel. Is I feel like I should watch it again, but I recall being bored and unentertained by large swaths of it, but like, yeah, like I remember being like, wow, pretty imagery, cool thing. Like, it's just one of those things that it just stuck with me. And when I saw the list, it like leapt off the screen at me, and it was like Innismaine, man, why? First thing I started thinking about, I watched the trailer again. I was like, okay, yeah. I don't know. That's really wild that we both kind of came to that same place. That is so strange to me. I think
That's
we
crazy.
owe it
Like
another shot, man.
maybe Deadstream was is the only movie we've ever reviewed.
Re-reviewed.
Yeah, and his main will join that
I
very
think so.
short list.
Yeah.
All right. You pick another movie that I was gonna
Okay.
go with one, but you go with one now and see if you can get something that's not on my list.
Okay. All right. All
And if it
right.
is, say something different.
Okay. Let's do Fist of the Condor.
Motherfucker. No, I'm just joking.
Well, I was worried that it's probably on your list, but maybe for the different reasons. I don't know. But Fist of the Condor, again, a movie that nothing just incredibly awesome about it. But this is kind of just a mid-year review where we're kind of just rehashing what we saw. And that movie, again, it kind of stands out as a weird Spanish language kung fu movie. Really insane characters, incredible fight scenes. I don't know.
The best death blow you will see
Oh,
this year. Like,
incredible, just incredible death blow.
I mean, Sisu has a great final battle. The final
Yes,
moment is really, but the actual death blow. I mean, this is the
pretty
Condor. I don't.
amazing.
I mean, that's pretty stands on its own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that one. I saw it on there. I was like, oh man, that death blow. And then I also thought, ooh, that's storytelling. Man, I
Whew.
don't know what the hell is going on there.
Not absolutely nonsensical.
Yeah.
But some of the more fun I had, I guess, with one of the movies, regardless of storytelling and all that shit. Sometimes things are just fun, and I definitely thought Fist of the Condor was fun. So,
It is. It is. And also, you get a renegade joke in it. And
yes,
who the hell references renegade ever?
exactly. Ever.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you would expect to hear in like 30 Rock or Will Ferrell or Conan O'Brien or something.
Yeah,
Even
exactly.
they don't reference renegade. But you get it in Fist of the Condor.
Get it, Fist of the
Um,
Condor. All right,
I
you
do
go.
not. I don't want to talk about this movie, but um we always only do these recaps. They're their own entities, so it's never
Yeah,
like it's never in the same show, so this isn't
right,
bad. We just
right.
talked about You'll Never Find Me.
Sure.
This is it's not the best thing that I've seen this year, though, and I'll get to that soon. But You'll Never Find Me does have the best performances. So 2 times in this episode, you said something that I was going to say.
God damn it!
But you know
That's why we do this show together, Pat. That's why.
It's like when we do the fantasy draft.
Yeah.
Someone always fucking snipes me.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, You'll Never Find Me. Like we just talked about, so we won't go. But great performances, great story, bonkers showdown. Craziness, but absolutely the absolute definition of a must-see movie.
Oh, without it, yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I I don't know. I think there's yeah. I think that movie has a special place in both of our in both of our hearts for whatever reason. Jeez. So should I go good or bad? Let's go good. Let's go good. Let's talk Megan. Let's talk about Megan.
Oh man, first special edition of the year.
Yeah. I really I think it's fun that we kind of all came together on Megan, and we all left that theater kind of feeling the exact same way. I think that's a rare thing when you kind of walk out going like, fuck yeah, and fuck yeah, Megan. And we want
Yeah.
Megan. We were team Megan hard. And I thought right at the beginning of the year, right? That's like one of the first things one of the, first part of the year. And I it's I've done nothing but recommend it to people since then. And we've brought it up in other things since. And I I think it's just a really cool modern horror movie, and it did a lot of things right. And it leads me to my question for you: have you seen the unrated version of Megan?
I haven't gotten around to it yet, and
Me
I
neither, damn it. We're not as
really,
fans, big of fans as we should
yeah,
be.
I know we're posers. Regina's seen it like 3 times, I think.
Ah, good for Regina. At least one of us is real.
I know, and I told her to wait for me, but she just doesn't give a shit. She's like, she loves Megan.
Good for her.
Yeah, great movie. Like it was a great start to the year. Great. It was the first time we had done a special edition in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of those things where, and then the lead up to, because Regina mentioned it like sometime
Oh,
last year when she first
yeah.
brought it up to us, and I kind of forgot about it. And then they really ramped up the marketing as we got closer, and it was super exciting. And then I would say like 2 or 3 days before, all the Child's Play fans started coming out talking about like, this is awful. It's a ripoff and this and that kind of continued. But I can only guess that one, they're Child's Play fans, so they were
Oh,
defending
yeah.
Chucky.
Sure.
But I think it continued afterwards because they just didn't see Megan. It's like
Yeah.
it's a fun in the vein of Child's Play. It's
Sure.
a fun and it's not as gory as Child's Play, but it's an enjoyable modern horror movie. Like you said, the crowd that we saw it with was so into it, having a great time. Just the other day, I was driving to work and I heard that song, "Toy Soldiers" by
Oh, yeah.
Orange, and I totally forgot that's in that movie. She starts singing that song, and just one of the best movie moments of that movie. Like, absolutely love that movie, and I was so glad that we got to enjoy it together.
I'm so, yeah, me too. And it's pretty rare that like a movie kind of builds up a hype for us and then like kind of exceeds the expectation, and
Yeah.
that's one of those instances. So yeah, it was the whole package, and it still holds a high spot for the year for me, for all of those reasons.
Absolutely. And I want to, since we're on the subject of special editions, I'll continue along that route. We did something different. This year, we did 2 special editions in a row, which we've never done before. And actually, it was something that we never wanted to do, but it was kind of hard not to when you had Renfield and Evil Dead Rise back to
Mhm.
back. So we did Megan, Evil Dead Rise, and Renfield this year for special editions in the first half of the year. 2 out of 3 of those did very well in the box office. Um, all 3 of those people who've seen it seems like have been very pleased with them. We enjoyed all 3 of those movies, but the one that stands out to me the most, and really it's a moment, is the everyone says the same thing, but I'm going to say it too. The title card for Evil Dead Rise
Oh,
is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in a movie theater. It was so cool to see Evil Dead on the big screen again. It was so cool that it was supposed to be an HBO Max release,
yeah.
and then they moved it to theaters. It was great to see the excitement in the theater.
Hmm.
Afterwards, hearing about how well it did in the box office was amazing, but nothing beats us being in that theater and just seeing that amazing opening screen where she's coming up, and it's not a spoiler at this point
No.
because people are using it for their banners for Facebook and Twitter, and I see pictures of it everywhere. Like she's rising out of the water and Evil Dead Rise coming. My favorite moment in a movie theater this year has been that. I loved it.
Yeah, I literally got goosebumps when that
Me too.
happened. Like, yeah, that was, man. We've been lucky. We're lucky that we're back in the same city, and we get to go experience these things together. And man, I think I think that's kind of the theme for the year, man. So far has been, um, so much of these movies that are like on my list here that are like in my good category, a lot of them are the stuff we saw together, and I think that's such a huge thing for genre, is to enjoy these things like with your like-minded friends.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think that's illustrated here today, and I think that's really cool.
absolutely. What else do you have on your list?
Well, let's talk about something I didn't like.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Satan Wants You.
Oh, you did it again, but
Sorry, it's gonna keep
yeah.
happening.
No, I mean it's only been half a year, so I mean we're gonna have some
Right, we're gonna
overlap.
have some overlap, yeah. And like you said at the top of this, Soft and Quiet obviously on my didn't like it, but Satan Wants You. I think again this comes from us being kind of 80s kids, and kind of growing up in the Satanic Panic, and having good memories of all that stuff. I was really excited about a Satanic Panic movie documentary.
Mm,
I went into that with too high an expectation, and that's on me.
yeah,
Um, but ultimately it tells a story that I didn't care about.
Nope.
Not
I
at
told
all.
no.
I-
I want to say I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but we were doing our mid-year thing, and whenever we talked about bad movies, we kept saying like, "Oh, it's not so much that it was bad, as that it just disappointed me."
right.
And this falls very strongly in that, with the difference of it being it was just bad. It was this was disappointing and bad. It's a documentary about the Satanic Panic. It's the beginnings of the Satanic Panic. I had never heard of the book Michelle Remembers, and then I was telling Regina, like, yeah, Blake and I are going to cover the Satanic Panic documentary about some book. And she immediately was like, oh, Michelle Remembers. I read that in middle school, and it gave me nightmares. So
Wow.
just like you, like, I mean, I was already amped up because of Satanic Panic.
Hmm.
Then Regina's telling me about this book that gave her nightmares, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is an aspect of the Satanic Panic that I,
Yeah.
if I heard about it, I certainly don't remember it now. And then yeah, it was confusing. At first, it seemed like they were defending it. Then it seemed like they were laughing at it,
Yeah.
like they were saying it was all bullshit, like the therapy and everything. And I couldn't get a handle on the tone. Like they kind of didn't really get into the Satanic Panic all that
No.
much. Like, yeah, disappointing, but just it had, to me, it had no direction or purpose really, aside from just to put on the blurb, hey, we're going to tell you about how the Satanic Panic started, and then they didn't.
It was, yeah, and then like the family members that are talking aren't even like speaking that illy of her, even though like they're trying. The whole
Yeah.
point of the documentary is to paint her like in this kind of light that they kind of just kind of wash over with like, yeah, but she's she's okay. I don't know. It was such a boring, uninspired and like you said, directionless film. So yeah, I think we've talked about it enough.
Yeah, and it's a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Um,
What you got?
you had just talked about genre movies, how it's always fun to watch it with fans, which is why there's so many great horror hosts out there, and people love doing watch-alongs with horror movies. But
Hmm.
talk about movies that you might want to watch alone. It had been a while before this year. 2 weeks in a row, we covered some erotic thrillers,
Oh yes.
and Attachment Diaries and Follower. And those aren't necessarily at the top of my list this year, but I'm a fan of erotic horror and erotic
Hmm.
thrillers, and a little bit as maybe our mindsets have evolved. Movie making has definitely evolved, but you just don't get that eroticism. You don't get the shower scenes anymore.
Hmm.
You don't get, and if you don't get the naked men anymore, you don't get the muscles, the
No,
sweaty,
no butts.
no sweaty butts. You don't get any of that anymore,
No.
really. And that's a big genre,
It
one of the big
is
subgenre, and
underserved.
those are some really good movies. Whether it's the Shannon Tweet Skinamax stuff, but
Oh,
going back to the '80s with people dying during sex all the time, but you're missing out on a lot of stuff. And
yeah.
it was cool to see the attachment, though it was a completely different kind of erotic thriller.
Right, right.
Follow Her, though, was very much a traditional erotic thriller, but it
Hmm.
was set in a social media world,
Hmm.
showing that yes, you can still have erotic thrillers today, and yes, they can still be super horny, super lustful, and they don't have to objectify women
Yeah,
or be just outright disgusting in their treatment of anybody. So
yeah,
I hope to see more erotic thrillers.
yeah, absolutely. Attachment Diaries was on my list here for in my good category. Yeah, just yeah, we need more horned up good thriller. There I was literally yesterday talking with somebody at work about like uh like The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. And like that's kind of that's it's
Yeah.
while it's not super erotic, it's kind of got some of that tinge to it. And like yeah, it's you just don't see it anymore. The dangerous kind of female kind of thing just while it is around, it's not done like it used to be. And
It's
anybody
not as sexy. It's
it's just
it's
not as sexy, right? There's just not sexy movies like that, like Jade or stuff like that. Like those movies don't, yeah, they're just not being made, which is it's really strange because we love to be thrilled and we love to be boned up. What's the problem, Hollywood?
give us what we want. I
Yeah.
mean,
Loop
for
us up, please.
years they told us sex sells. I mean,
Yeah, it
it
still
still
does. Have you
does.
seen
Like,
Instagram? Jesus Christ.
yeah, no shit. Like, why are you leaving it for Insta? Let's have more horny movies.
Yes, yes, yes.
What else you got for us?
so, so well, let's talk about it. It's not horny at all. As a matter of fact, this movie I want to talk about because I kind of want to see how you feel about it in hindsight. Children of the Corn. Children of the
If
Corn.
this movie makes you horny, do not listen to our show anymore.
Please, please
Don't
stop.
contact us. Don't leave your room. Do not leave the house, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, Children of the Corn. What do you have to say about Children?
I mean, so again, this is one of these things we watched together, and we just had a fucking riot watching it, and I think that translated to over to the show for sure when we recorded about it. But you know, while it kind of just flipped it, and well, they talk a lot about corn in that. This is one of the corniest corn-centric movies you'll ever see. I thought it was fun. You know, the little girl performance was fucking hilarious. I still laugh
Loved it.
about it when I think about it.
I
And
loved it. So
I
good.
loved it. Yeah. And I think, you know, a big part of it is like, yeah, we had such a great time cracking wise and while we watched it and stuff. But the I again, we've seen some of this like throwback kind of horror lately. All year. We've kind of seen like things kind of distilling back to like to the basics. And while this got a little convoluted with all the corn talk and et cetera, et cetera, and like the beginning didn't make much sense. They kind of, you know, they still provided you a delightfully spooky-ish, corny horror adventure. And yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. And again, I think this is one of those things you should absolutely watch with some pals and enjoy it.
Yeah, if you take it for what it is, then you'll probably still hate it. No,
Yeah,
you have to cut it a lot of slack.
a lot of slack.
A lot of slack. So you have to go and know, and then okay, I'm gonna see what's objectively a bad movie, and I just want to
Yeah.
see this with some friends and have a good time.
Yeah.
Don't be too hard on it at all.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. Actually, just experience it, like kind of like an art house movie. Like it's like the anti art house. You don't watch it, you experience it.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's a Stephen King movie, and we've talked about Stephen King, hit or miss, and Children of the
Mhm.
Corn, interesting franchise, but this is entirely separate. Maybe it's a reboot of the franchise. I don't know what direction they're
We
going
couldn't tell.
with it. Yeah, you can't tell, but I think it's a great jumping off point. So
Yeah.
if you've never seen a Children of the Corn movie, yeah, check it out. And yeah, there's some pretty amazing performances in it with the Isaac characters. Isaac's the main bad, right? Or is it Ezekiel?
Isaac. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
Ezekiel's the right hand man who gets
Oh,
sacrificed.
okay.
And,
That's
yeah,
right. That's right.
Isaac, because also Children of the Corn 666 is called Isaac's Return. I believe.
That's right. Yes,
So,
you're correct.
the Isaac character is a young girl who is hilarious, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about a movie that I mentioned. You'll Never Find Me is not
Mhm.
my favorite movie of the year. So my favorite thing that we've seen, and when we were watching it, you said that, or when we were reviewing it, you said that this movie will reach out to a certain segment of the crowd of the audience, and the rest of the people won't give a shit about it. And I said, "Oh, I'm one of those people." The Artifice Girl. I
Yeah.
absolutely
Okay.
loved the story. It's about AI. It says it's about catching child predators, and yes, that is a part of the story, but it's very much I guess ironically it's a very human story, which always is the case with these AI android type movies. But this one's very well told, plus you get an awesome Lance Henriksen cameo, who we didn't mention was great in that Robert Englund documentary.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just love the story, and there's again great performances. It's very disjointed, but there's a very good reason for it, I think.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's gonna appeal to a certain segment of the audience. I totally agree with you on that. But if you're patient and if you like a good story, then I don't think you'll find one any better than The Artifice Girl.
Yeah, you know, that was a really interesting movie. And I've probably talked about that movie just about more than anything that we've covered this year with other folks out in the wild, as they say. And it's funny, if I do my job and I describe the movie accurately, almost every time the person I'm talking to wants to see it. And that's a pretty interesting thing. And like I like kind of exactly what you were saying. I preface it with like, you may get 30 minutes into this and may not like it or where it's going. I'm like, just wait another 5 minutes because it'll change.
Right.
And
Right.
yeah, and so it's a really interesting film to look back on. And yeah, it's definitely been one of the most memorable of the year, and I can definitely see why it made the top of your list now.
What else you got for us?
Well, if we're gonna go top of good things, let's do that for myself. Blackberry.
Oh man.
Was that the same? Was that the same show, Artifice Girl and Blackberry?
No, because it was two exact. It was Artifice Girl and Sisu.
Oh, Sisu.
Quite the combo.
How hilarious. Yeah. Sisu was great too.
Awesome.
Awesome. But Blackberry, on top of it being a really interesting story, really well directed and acted, it th- it's a bit of modern history that I feel like everybody should know. I mean, we all have these phones, right? And we are controlled by it. I'm moving into a new place. Everything I'm doing is done with my phone. Like, I'm not talking to humans. It's all on my phone. It's kind of insane. And the whole movie, again, it's a thing I talked about and I still talk about with people. If you're a fan of tech at all, you should check this out. If you're a fan of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you have to watch the Golden God, Glenn Howerton, perform in this, because he's just outrageously good. So is Jay
And
Baruchel.
different from Dennis
And
McDonald.
different, yeah. It's not Dennis,
It'll surprise you.
Absolutely.
And
The
again, a
whole
good
movie.
way.
Yeah, the whole movie will. And I think you're gonna leave that knowing a whole lot more about why the thing in your pocket behaves and acts the way it does. And I think that's pretty interesting.
And you mentioned modern history, and now really modern history is more important than it's ever been because our attention spans are so short and people forget things so quick. And BlackBerry is a great example of something that can be the hot item for. I mean, this is at the beginning of this century. Like, this is not a long. BlackBerry is not this ancient. This is 2000, what, 1999 to 2003.
It's like 7 or 8. Basically.
I mean, this is
Yeah.
recent history, but BlackBerry very quickly has become, and anything that's kind of in that area has become have you ever heard of type of thing. When I was a kid, it was, hey, have you ever heard of the first person on the Donna Reed show type of thing, or like actual stuff that I wasn't around for. But now things are moving so quick, technology especially, that yeah, like BlackBerry is a very important part of our history, and cell phones, like you said, ultra important. We all have one for various reasons. We don't need to communicate anymore. Like, if we wanted to, we can do this podcast over our phones. Like, that's how important and powerful. Yeah, we've done that before. Like, and BlackBerry it's history that does need to be told. It's very interesting, and it does this really cool thing where, yes, it's about the BlackBerry, yes, it's about how technology is involved, but it's really a people story. And I know I just said that about Artifice Girl, but this is very much a people story. And yeah, Glenn Howerton is so amazing in this, and Jay Baruchel, amazing. And then the director, Matt Johnson.
Matt Johnson's awesome.
Is also in it. I mean, and it's all true, and it's wild.
It's absolutely wild. And I guess you should be surprised that it would be such an entertaining and fun movie, but it's got to be on everybody's watch list. It has to be. Yeah.
And a great soundtrack, and joke's on me. I want to talk shit about the NHL. NHL is a very important part of BlackBerry.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So, well, being venomous has actually been pretty good for us. So yes. My final picks are going to be what I hated the most. So
me too.
Let's see. Consecration followers.
To me, and utterly and completely forgettable. And I mean it. Like, I literally forgot I watched this movie. I watched the trailer and I was like, oh yeah. And then it starts to come back and you're like, oh yeah. And it's all eye roll kind of shit. And boring, uninspired, missed opportunity. great setting, but a wasted opportunity with a great setting. And yeah, I can totally
And a good
see.
cast.
Great cast, actually. Yeah, that it was kind of inexplicable how bad that movie was. And yeah, what the fuck.
Yeah.
Consecration. And it got like billing. I remember seeing trailers for it.
Yeah.
Like, did it not have trailers like in the theater? I thought, I don't know.
No, this was in trailers. It's now on Shutter.
Yeah.
And partly because of its camera. I mean, great imagery, and the trailer's not a bad one. Like, it has all the ingredients for a really good horror movie. And we talk on this show, we talk in length for reasons why we do and don't like movies. But sometimes I just want to say that shit was boring.
That
I
shit was fucking boring.
I have that right. It's a boring
Yeah.
movie. I
Uh,
don't
uh,
like it. That's all there is
Absolutely.
to
Perfect. Perfect. Well, I sir will give you another movie that I thought was boring, and it was I kind of sat there with my hand on my face, just resting my chin, just kind of going like, come on, please, how long is it? Oh, it's still, I've got an hour left. Moon Garden. Moon Garden, you knew it was coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew one of us was going
Yeah, I
to.
mean, and like we said on the show, this is not all that long ago. I think the major fault at hand here is you're relying on a way too young an actress, and no fault of her own,
Right.
and it just was convoluted and not fun, not engaging, even though it tried desperately to be engaging and provide you all these wacky characters, but it fell so flat. And it just was just I couldn't possibly recommend this movie to anyone. It's just a waste of time. And I know that's really, really harsh, but it's a half-baked thing. It felt unfinished, and in a way that just led to confusion. And like I said, just flat. I'm sorry, I'm just repeating myself now, but it just didn't do anything for me on any level.
We've been doing this show for quite a number of years now, and
Yeah.
we you get some good ones and you get some bad ones, and hopefully most of them are in the middle, and that's what you can you can get a little bit of enjoyment. But then you get the ones that are just, and that's part of it. You're going to enjoy some stuff. You're not going to like some stuff, but it's going to happen. It's bound to happen. But a movie is really bad when I was watching with my sister. Like, it's bad when you're apologizing to people about it. And we're watching it, and she didn't say anything. She sat there and she watched it with me. And then when it was over, before she said anything, I was like, I am so sorry. I mean, she's from Ohio. She comes down here to Texas and she's hanging
Yeah,
out. And yeah, I'm like, hey, you want to watch this movie that I have? Like, it's not out in the theaters yet. That's cool,
yeah,
right?
that's cool, right?
You're getting a head start on this movie. And yeah, like I was, all the things that you said are so true. There is some cool visuals to it,
There are.
but I mean, that's I don't know. There's some people that are dressed
That lipstick on a pig, man.
thank you. Yeah, this is, yeah, I agree with you. This is one of the worst things we've ever seen. This was
Yeah.
bad. It was this, and it's your basic fairy tale story, like girl in a strange, I won't say child in a strange land trying to get home. I mean, that's Wizard of Oz, that's Narnia,
Roald
that's,
Dahl stories,
yeah,
whatever.
we've all read those stories, we've all seen those movies, and the worst of them are passable. But
Mhm.
man, I don't know how they screwed this one up, but it has the characters, it has the visuals. The characters are very I think we called one like John Dump or something. And like he's a off-brand Johnny Depp, but
Yeah.
geez Louise, like this one was, it was just so boring. Yeah, this is one of those where
Yeah.
you're not just looking at your watch, you're checking your watch to make sure it's not broken.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And like my cursor was constantly hovering to see how much movie I had left on that one. And just, yeah, I couldn't, yeah, exactly. Always looking at your phone. Just unentertaining, man. We've run into a few of them, but that was one of the worst ones.